afternoon slash morning, wherever you are joining us from here in the United States and beyond. We welcome you to another free webinar from Desert Waters today. Our webinar today is called The Taste of a Glock, a Lieutenant's Story of Survival and Second Chances. And I am Stephanie Rawlings. I am the Deputy Director of Desert Waters. Today, our guest is Lieutenant Brian Hughes. He is now retired, and he's going to be sharing his story in an interview with our Executive Director of Desert Waters, Dr. Katerina Spinaris. And we will let Brian introduce himself and give us a little bit of his background as we get started. As many of you know, before we get started, I just want to say suicide occurs at alarming rates among correctional workers, and we are very grateful that you have chosen to join us today for this particular webinar. And whether or not you've been affected by suicide directly or not, we recognize that this topic can have a wide range of emotions, and it can be very difficult at times for individuals. You are invited to engage at whatever level feels right for you, either by listening or joining in our chat discussion or by contributing to our Q&A at the end. Our intention today is to offer a space that is respectful and supported, and we want to be very compassionate, knowing that individuals have had their own unique experiences with this topic. We also just want to say that if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide, we plead with you to reach out for support in whatever way you can, either to a mental health professional, a trusted peer, a loved one, a spiritual leader, a chaplain, somebody that you have a trusted relationship with. And you can always call or text 988, which is the National Suicide Hotline, and that is available 24/7. You deserve the care and the support as you navigate this pain. We want you well. That is our primary goal and focus at Desert Waters. For those of you who are not familiar with Desert Waters Correctional Outreach, we are a 501c3 nonprofit incorporated in Colorado in 2003. We are celebrating 23 years. Our mission is to improve the well-being of corrections and other public safety professionals through training, consulting, and other essential resources that foster resilience, mental health, and overall well-being in these challenging professions. You can visit us at www.desertwaters.com. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook if you haven't done so already to learn more about what we're doing. We are recording today's session, and so if you have to leave before the end, it will be posted to YouTube. I also believe our email listserv will send out the recording when it is edited and completed as well. Please stay muted and post your questions in the chat. We will be collecting the questions so that we can get to them at the end of the presentation. So if you stick one in the chat, just know that one of our staff is grabbing that question out to save for the end. So don't be afraid to do that. We plan to have about a 90-minute presentation and then 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A at the end. And then we will stay beyond that if necessary. If you have to jump off before the end, please don't feel bad about that. We understand that time is very valuable right now in corrections and other industries. So again, thank you for attending today's event. I will remind you at the end of the presentation when our next webinar is. We will be having another one offered on Thursday, April 30th, and we'll talk about that topic at the end. So without further ado, I will hand off to our Executive Director.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Brian. I felt like saying, welcome, brother. It's like we've met so many years ago and it's like your family. And it's so good to have you show up here and share. And I would love for you to say a little bit about yourself to our audience, about who you are, just a little summary of your bio.
Okay. I worked for the prison system in Michigan for 30 years. I started my career at the State Prison of Southern Michigan Central Complex, which at one time was the largest walled prison in the world. So it's pretty cool to be part of that legacy. It was one of the most dangerous prisons in the state of Michigan at the time. some of the worst prisoners we have. So that's where a lot of my experience comes from. I did 1 year over my 30-year career. I did 1 year in a woman's prison, so that was enough. And that's it. I retired in January. I've worked at 5 institutions, all different levels, and that's where we're at now. I'm retired and loving it. And
30 years. Thank you. My goodness, 30 years. And you and I connected in late 2019. You sent us I don't know how you found us, but you sent us a copy of an article you wrote on, actually, it was something you posted on your Facebook page saying
yeah,
the title was "We Suffer in Silence." And you
right.
unloaded on it about how much pain there is and how much suicide there is in the ranks, but people are saying, I'm good, I'm fine, whatever.
Right.
And
Oh,
I
we
loved
don't
it.
talk about.
Yes. So what prompted you to write that post? We suffer in silence.
I got tired of burying friends. I got tired of burying corrections officers and going to funerals. And it got out of control. So it got to a point. I was working at one facility, and we buried 3 suicide officers within 1 year, and
Wow.
had 5 more within the next 3 years at one facility. And so it's just the suicide rate has gotten way out of control, and I'm can only imagine it's countrywide, worldwide, not just Michigan.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. So that prompted you to write that. And of course, we loved it. And I asked for permission to print it in our correctional oasis. And it was, you gave us permission, and we printed it in January of 2020. And I had a lot of very, very good feedback from people about it. Like, whoa, I mean, yeah. And the fact that you're a lieutenant writing it was really important. And you followed up with several articles. I mean,
yeah,
over several that were along the same
yeah,
lines. As a
think you've
supervisor, go
published
ahead.
about 10 of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you've published about 10 of them now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they're all in from 2020 on. We have a lot of past issues still posted on our website, and we put some of your stories in our staff stories because the fact that you came from the background of a lieutenant and had so much compassion was such a good and so much understanding and honesty and openness about the whole thing was very freeing and very
Yeah.
healing. So why did you
Right.
start writing?
Writing, man, I don't know what even got me started, but it turned out to be quite a bit of therapy. Um,
Mm.
it just feels good to write.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really vulnerable sharing those feelings like that. Because we're not good at it, obviously. That's why I say we suffer in silence. We're not good at sharing
Right.
that stuff, but I think it needs to be done, and I think it will help
Yes.
people, and just
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
It's
It
okay.
gives the way you write gives people permission to admit their own thoughts to themselves and to say, yep, me too. I feel the same way, or I've been through that, or whatever. I relate. And or like, thank you for saying that you're not saying I'm a loser and a weak person for struggling like that. Because here you are a lieutenant
Right.
with, obviously I mean, a hugely responsible position going through those struggles. So I really thank you
Well,
for having shared that material with us so freely. And then my
yeah.
big question, of course, which you address in some of the articles, what turned you from being a hardened, the hire at Walmart type of lieutenant to becoming empathetic and compassionate towards correctional officers and other staff? What
Well,
made the change?
I think it is just that it was seeing the turn in maybe our mental health, seeing the raise in suicides. I mean, when I hired in, that's how we were treated. So, if you didn't like something, if you complained about something, they would say there's an application to McDonald's hanging on the wall. You know, um, there was no compassion. If you dealt with a critical situation, somebody murdered, raped, killed, whatever, you were expected to handle it and then go back to work. Don't whine about it, don't cry about it, and we don't care if you're suffering outside of work. And I just come to the realization that that's stupid. Um, it's harming us. And I know people would talk bad about me when I started writing my articles because that's just the nature of the business we're in. There's always going to be critics. But what we are doing is not working, and something else needs to be done. And I wanted people to understand that, the things you are feeling, you are not alone. We think we are, we feel like we are, but you're really not. And it's okay to feel that way, but you got to get help.
Yes. Yes. And what you said, acknowledging that what we're doing is not working, like that's what we're seeing even now with the turnover issues and such. Like we
It,
need to change the way we're doing things. Yes.
yeah, it really clicked with me when we had a prisoner jump from fourth gallery. And when he hit base, it was not a pretty sight. Like, stuff came out of his head. Like, it was a bad sight. And two of the officers were really new, and they didn't take it well. And they took some time off work. And I made the comment that if you can't handle this, then maybe this ain't the job for you. And it clicked. That is so stupid, because nobody can handle this normal. Like, this isn't normal. Of course they're going to have issues. Like, it's not normal to watch somebody jump from 5 stories up and have their brain pop out of their head. So for me to say, if you can't handle it, quit, that is ignorant. Like, nobody should handle this. That's not normal.
So that was
that's
your
kind of the stuff that,
epiphany.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Like, how
Like,
dumb you sound right now?
yeah. And so you changed what you said to people after that.
Absolutely. I
So what
changed the
would you
way I
say
did things.
instead? What would you tell
Well,
them
like I
instead?
said before, like, say we dealt with a murder, we would handle whatever and then go back to work. Well, then I wrote that article about following up. You got to follow up with your staff. So, I know when we're in a group after we have a situation and we're kind of decompressing, I know when I say, is everybody okay? Everybody's going to say they're okay, because
Mm-hmm.
we're in a group. Nobody's going to admit in front of their peers that, no, I'm not okay. Like, this has really messed me up. And so it's important to go back to those people, talk to them one-on-one, talk to them a week later, 2 weeks later. You might find out, like, hey, no, I haven't slept 2 hours since that happened. I'm not good at all. And it's amazing when you open yourself up to that. When I started writing these articles, when I started talking, people will talk. People want to talk. They just don't
Mm-hmm.
feel safe to do it.
Yes, that's precisely it. And you, by being a lieutenant, the leader, you gave them permission to be human and
Right.
help their recovery, they help their healing, because there was compassion
Right.
flowing their way. So what did you see change? And we're going to get to your crisis in a minute, but what did you see change
Yeah.
in your staff, in the way they related to you, when your approach changed? What did you see change from them
Well,
towards
just
you?
just like I said, they opened up more. I always had a good relationship, but they opened up more as far as personal stuff. And I've had a couple tell me that if they didn't talk to me and if I didn't listen to them, that they probably would have killed themselves at some point.
Wow.
And I've still known a couple that did kill themselves, um, but yeah, they opened up more, they shared more,
Yes.
and I think people are more open to getting help.
Right. So
The
they trusted
the
you
problem
more.
we have, yeah, that's the issue. The problem we have, and it's probably everywhere, but I can only speak on Michigan, is trust in administration. And so when you can't, so originally, many years ago, they would bring in a team called TISM, a traumatic incident stress management team. They would talk to people that were just involved in a situation, but see, whatever you told them would go back to your administration, and then it would be held against you. So you quit talking to the TISM team. So you just want to talk to anybody. And then they started this new thing recently that in the last few years it's a lot better. They're real mental health professionals. They fall under the same guidelines as they can't share your information. It's gotten better, but the problem is any program that the institution, the state implements, we're not going to trust, because we just have come to not trust,
Mm-hmm.
what the state does. So that's the hard part, is getting people to get help on their own, admitting there's a
Yeah.
problem and getting it.
Or eventually building a peer support team that people will trust to reach out to
That's
and run
tough.
professionally. Yes.
Yeah,
After you lose trust, it's really hard to regain it in corrections. That's for sure.
for
So,
sure.
so you became an outspoken advocate. Did you, just one question that just occurred to me, did you advocate for your people to people higher up than you, like captains, majors, if you have
Absolutely.
major?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was fortunate. Like since I've been a lieutenant, I had an amazing captain. My captain supported us, no question. It's the higher up people out of uniform that you really have to advocate with because
Okay.
that's the tough ones. Yeah. So
So maybe some people have
yeah,
not had the same experiences, so then maybe they don't really relate. Um,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
So you were on a mission, so to speak, and you were on a really, I mean, you were building trust, you were writing, you had meaning in your job by helping your staff not just do their job, but stay sane and survive their job. And then
Right.
came a hard year of 2022
Hmm.
with a lot of losses and then a mega crisis. And we won't get to the year after till or whenever it
Yeah. Well,
was
yeah.
afterwards. But so would you talk a little bit about the fact that you guys in correction don't have to deal only with a job situation, but you also have to deal with life, your own personal
Right.
life on the outside?
Right. That's what I'm always. I don't know, tongue in cheek, humble. I don't know, but it's hard for me to. I don't want to make it sound like we're special or we're different than anybody else. But all the things that we deal with at work that we end up suicidal. We also have home too. We have those issues too, and that's why some people don't even know about CPTSD, the compounded, the repetitive trauma over and over.
Complex PTSD,
Um,
yes.
is very yeah, and so yeah. Besides all the work, we have home life too, and so when all that builds up, it's like double the hit. It's a lot to deal with. Can be.
Right. Like you have no safe place. Work is not safe, home is not safe, or there's
Right.
pain in both places, or lack of
But I
understanding.
think
And
I think what I've learned, and I think a lot of us are probably in a situation, is home can be safe. We don't allow it
mhm,
to be safe. Yeah.
you have
See,
to
I
kind of
I always
relearn.
I didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't come home from work and tell war stories. I didn't want to involve my family in that. They don't need to hear these details. So, but 30 years of that, or 25 years at the time, I think I'm protecting my family from my world that I'm not happy in. But what I was doing was isolating them from my world. That was a big difference, and that was an eye opener for me too.
Like you're
So,
getting disconnected. I call it the Grand Canyon. You're getting distant
right.
emotionally because you were not sharing yourself with your family
Right.
members,
See,
like
my
your
wife,
wife.
when my wife comes home from work, she loves to tell me about her day. And I love to hear it because she loves her job. She's a caregiver. She works with clients and she's excited. When I come home from work, whether it was a boring day or I seen someone murdered, my wife will say, "How was your day?" And I'll say, "Just another day." That's why I titled my book that. And so that was my story every day. Just another day. I didn't share anything. And I'm not saying you have to share gory details with your significant other, but it's important to include them and
Right,
share what's on your mind. And you
right.
you need someone to talk to. So
Right. So you can share your feelings, but you don't have to share the graphic
right,
details of the event like a
right,
reporter writing a story for the newspaper. You can share
right.
your feelings. And
Yeah,
that what makes you vulnerable, right? I mean, maybe you'll break
absolutely, it
down and
does.
cry and you don't want to, so you don't say anything. Just another day.
Right.
Whoa. 25 years
Well,
of
and
that.
and we feel it makes us feel weak. That
Hmm.
that's bothering us. That shouldn't bother us.
Like you shouldn't be
We're not
bothered.
supposed to
Like,
feel that way.
right, because
Right.
that's what has been drilled into your head, which is completely, like you said, inaccurate, impossible for
Right.
unless
Yeah,
you
because
unless you're a robot.
realistically,
Hmm.
exactly, if you have any experience in the corrections and deal with some of the stuff we do and it doesn't bother you, then that's a problem.
Right, right,
There's no reason it should not bother you because it is not normal stuff.
right, right, right. I mean, yes, yes. So 2022 came along and you had some losses before the peak of that
Yeah,
crisis. Would you like to share a little bit about that with us, and then tell us about
sure.
your
So
crisis and the whole thing of how you
sure.
got
So
through it?
just
Yeah.
building up all the way to that point. I've been with a prison and I'm already miserable in my job. I'd love to quit my job, but I got a pension, so I'm holding on. And so that is what it is. I'm not happy there. And then in April of that year, my brother died. He was 49 years old, addiction related. They
Wow.
found cocaine and fentanyl in his system, and he was an alcoholic. Um, and so I was dealing with the loss of him. 2 weeks later, my brother-in-law died. My wife's brother died. He was an alcoholic also. And then three to 4 weeks after that, my wife's stepbrother died. So in a matter of 6 weeks, we lost three brothers, all under the age of 50, all due to drugs and drinking.
Whoa.
Uh,
In other words,
right.
preventable, theoretically all preventable. Yes.
Absolutely. Every one of them preventable.
Mercy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the middle of that, so my brother died, after the second loss is when I found out there was issues with my marriage and some infidelity.
So
And so
you had already been shaken to the core by those, and you were super vulnerable. And then you get hit with
right.
this out of left field wham.
Right. So the progression was really two brothers died. My brother died, her brother died. Then I found out about the affair, and then her stepbrother died a couple weeks later. So it was a lot going on at one time.
Massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. It
So
was my lowest. Sure.
yes. So you were kind of like destabilized. I mean, it's like we talk about do you call it
Absolutely.
wrecker ball to knock down
Oh yeah.
buildings? What you call it? It's like you
Right.
got the 3 or 4 wrecker balls, a wham. Whoa.
Yeah.
So, but the one that took you to the point of thinking about suicide was the one about the infidelity, right?
Yeah. That was just kind of the topper. So, like I said, I wasn't happy with where I was in my career. I'm so burnt out on prison at that time. I raised 4 kids. They were all moved out on their own, doing great. They're great human beings. I'm proud of all of them. And and then we have the death happening, and then the affair, and yeah, I just kind of just had enough. Just felt like I was done. Like there was
How
no
old
other
were you at
purpose
the
to be
time?
here.
Yeah, well, how old were you at the time?
I would have been. I was in 22. It shouldn't be this hard. So I'd have been like 48.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you are also under 50. So you felt like
at that time, yeah.
you didn't want to go on and continue being
Well, yeah.
alive on the
Why?
planet.
Why? I mean, right. I lost my dad many years before that. I lost 3 brothers. My kids are raised. They don't technically need me. I raised them. They're doing great. My marriage just fell apart. I hate my job. But yeah, why? What's the point?
So these were all the thoughts that were swimming through your mind. And
Absolutely.
for how long did you have that crisis go on, like the thinking, like starting to think about suicide and thinking about it before you got to the Glock moment? Like was it weeks, days, hours?
I mean, I would say off and on for years, but to that moment was probably hours. I mean,
Okay.
that all happened the day, that I found out everything. So
Ah, so it was
yeah,
like
that was
it
pretty,
peaked, the pain
pretty
peaked.
immediate. Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of, that's enough.
And of course, you have a gun at home or more than one.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
yeah, of course. And so for those, especially for those who have not read the article, we have your article in May of 2022, I think, that we published it. I thought it was the bravest thing we've ever published.
Mhm.
Do you, would you like to talk to people, to us about your reasoning that helped you turn around and choose life instead of death?
Yeah.
Because it's priceless.
At that moment though, I was debating on calling my kids, and not to tell them anything. I just wanted to talk to them one more time. Um, we're all very close, so they wouldn't think anything suspicious if I just called and said, "Hey, just calling to check on you, tell you I love you, see how your day's going," right? Just to hear their voice one more time. Um, they wouldn't have thought nothing of it, and I wouldn't have told them anything, but just to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was gonna call 911 and say, "Hey, there's a suicide at this address," because even though I was hurt, I didn't want my wife to come home and find that. Um, and so when I had that gun on, and I still have this picture, but when I had that gun, I took a picture of myself Um, and I was going to send it to my wife. And in that moment, that kind of clicked. That was my moment where I thought, okay, you don't really want to die. You want this pain to stop. Me sending her, and I never sent her that picture. She has seen it since, but me sending that picture was more manipulative and just to show her how bad I hurt, and I kind of want you to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was kind of my defining moment. You really don't want to die. You don't want to hurt, but you don't want to die. Um, you know, and so that's kind of when I put the gun down. Um, just figured life has changed a whole lot, and we're going to deal with it.
Wow. So it's this thing of how do I live through unavoidable pain because the infidelity did not evaporate. It was there.
Right.
Um,
Sure.
the history the past was still there, unchangeable. But it's like, how do I navigate through unavoidable, inescapable distress, high level distress, and still stay alive, still choose life? Like, how do I
Right.
face moment by moment? And that's what one thing that we have seen in like studies on people who almost killed themselves. They had no, or who did, they have no tools for dealing with incredible amounts of emotional pain. They had no tools other than maybe
Right.
getting drunk, but eventually you sober up
Right.
and you have to face
Yeah.
life. No tools for dealing with incredibly painful moments, no
And
resources,
fortunate,
no, yes.
right. Fortunate for me, even though I'm surrounded by addiction, you see like the three brothers. I've
Hmm.
never, I've never been a drinker. I've never had an addiction to drugs, so that was never, an issue. Thank God. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that is a miracle, especially when you had all the role models, quote unquote, around you that were escaping reality,
Right.
changing their mood, changing their whatever, their way of thinking through substances. And so easy to do. I mean, it's so easy to fall into that. And it's so accepted in corrections. The alcohol abuse is so like part of the deal. It's part of your job
Yeah.
to be drinking a lot of alcohol, a lot more than you used to before you got hired in corrections.
Right.
So you realize you don't want to die, and you also realize you you didn't want to be spiteful to your wife and just hurt her, leave her
Absolutely
with
not.
that guilt, and so that was
Right.
compassion towards another human being in a moment when you
Sure.
probably didn't think you'd be compassionate toward her.
Right.
And but that was wonderful because it saved your life, and you're here to tell the story.
It did.
And just for our listeners, because I think it's an amazing finale, the ending. What did you choose to do with your marriage, and how did it work out?
So I asked her to move out, and she did. We got her. We sold our house. We got our own places. We were separated for a year, and we decided to work things out. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of honesty, a lot of talking, some counseling, and I can honestly say my marriage is the best it's ever been. Now, I'm always going to have trust issues. I'm just going to. It's just life. But my marriage is the best it's ever been.
Yes.
So
So you went through facing what happened, shortcomings, both of you needing help. And you had, from what you wrote in your article, you also had a therapist individually regarding your heartache, right? For a while. It sounded
absolutely,
like,
yeah,
yes. So you had
yeah,
your
that's
support.
important. Yeah,
Yes.
if you find the right therapist, they are life changing. And if you go to one or two and they're not right, keep looking because when you find the right one, you know it, and it will change
Yes.
your life. Yeah,
Yes. So that person supported you through, and then you made the very brave decision. It really basically, again, involves forgiveness, learning from that experience, and reuniting with
yeah.
a new level of sobriety, so to speak, about the relationship. And but
Well, and
go-
I don't make excuses for people, but like people like to say, well, if it was me, I would have just left. Somebody cheats on me, it's over. It's easy to say what you would do until it happens to you. Um, and like I was talking in our little pre-meeting that I wasn't always a good husband either. And so that's kind of hypocritical for me to, just walk away. And I wasn't always a good guy either. So I think everybody deserves chances. And if they're doing the proper steps to prove that they're not that person, you know, I say make it work.
Yes.
I think it's so easy in today's society to walk away.
Yes.
And I don't know. I take my vow serious, and you just have to make a conscious decision that you're going to make it work, and then put in the
Yes.
work.
Yes. Every day. Every day. And the whole thing of forgiveness. Unlearning.
Yeah,
I have a little quote, the only thing that I came up with original in my life, saying that you have to turn your life's manure into fertilizer. And that's one thing you did. You had a pile of manure there and you decided
yeah,
to fertilize your home life, not just let
right,
it stink. Um,
right. And here, I like to say, like, now, going through those things change your life. They're just life changing. And so I don't want to be surrounded by honest people. I want to be surrounded by transparent people. And what I mean is, and here's a difference, and this ain't happening, but this is just an example. So if I ask my wife, hey, did somebody send you an email today? And she says, oh, yeah, so and so sent an email. That's being honest, right? Appreciate that. I don't want that. I want my wife to come to me and say, hey, so and so sent me an email. See, to me, there's a difference. Transparency over honesty.
gotcha. So they are proactive about being upfront with you, proactive. You don't have to
Exactly.
investigate. You don't have to be
Exactly.
interrogating them.
Right.
Wow. I get it. I get it. So like I want to shoot straight with you. This is what's going on. I need you to be aware, or let's join
Well,
hands
and
together and fight this
exactly.
together.
So that was when we decided to work things out. Like, that was one of the things, like, 100% honesty. It just has to be transparency. Has to be. Has to be.
Yes. And
Yeah.
of course, mutual on your end too. Yes.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so you reunited with your wife after a year of separation and working on your marriage and on yourselves
Yeah.
individually.
Yeah. So when we separated, my youngest son, he was 24. He stayed with me. Um, she moved into a duplex where my daughter and granddaughters lived in the other side. So she lived next, in the same building as my daughter and granddaughters. And then I was going to get a different place. And so my son moved in with her. And so um, I moved into my little 1 bedroom place, and they all lived in a duplex together. And so I would, sometimes I'd be, talking to my wife, and they would all be there hanging out together, you know, having a good time, and I would be by myself. And after a year, I was talking to my wife one day, and I said, I'm going to let you go. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, it's hard to hear, everybody, having a good time. And I'm over here on this side of town, and she said, it don't have to be that way. Like, you can be here, and that's when we decided to make things work. And I ended up moving in with her then, and my
Wonderful.
son.
Wow. 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 So you realize that you ached for your family
Oh, absolutely.
to be
Absolutely.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't mean it to sound cliche, but me and my wife have always been best friends. Like, we have so much fun together. And so, yeah, I absolutely miss that.
Yes.
Um, but
And
there's things, so, like, you got to understand, like, that marriage is over. Whether we work things out or not, that marriage is over. Things are going to be different from here on out. This is a whole new relationship, a whole new marriage, right? To make it work. And if things were that bad then, I don't want that marriage back.
right. So how many years
I
have you
want to
been
be
married in total to your wife?
27.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
remarkable. So
And that's
if
that's the other thing. That's a lot to walk away from. It's a lot of
right.
memories, a lot of everything.
And if I may say, well, yes, and then you were together when you faced the ultimately lowest point. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah. So that's what's wild. So, the day I had the gun in my mouth was obviously my lowest day of my life. And like I said before, I used to say it can't get any worse. Well, it can. And it did. Um, and so I was moved back in with my wife, and in 2023, we found our son dead in his bedroom from a drug overdose.
Jeez. Yes.
Sadly, what really happened, my 5-year-old granddaughter found him first.
Ah,
My wife was, like I said, we lived in a duplex, and we kept the doors open so the granddaughters would just run back and forth, and they loved it. And my wife was cooking dinner, and so my son had a pill addiction problem that we knew about. That's why he asked to come home. He wanted to get cleaned up, and he was sober for 3 weeks. And my wife asked my granddaughter, "Hey, go upstairs and see if Uncle Chase wants dinner." And then she went upstairs, and when she came back down, she's like, "Grandma, Uncle Chase won't wake up." And so we just figured he, had smoked some marijuana and was sleeping really good. And so my wife went to check on him, and she yelled for me to get up there that something was wrong, and that's that's how I found him. So I knew immediately he'd been gone for a while. So
Mm. Wow.
yeah, so yeah,
So,
I
and
thought
so,
the
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I thought the whole gun on my mouth was my lowest point, and it can get lower.
Yes.
Um,
So I'm thinking, it, how do you feel about the fact that you were united with your wife? You were together to face that tragedy, as opposed to being separated on your own. What was the advantage of
it,
being together as a couple?
I mean, I would say it's probably a blessing to be together that we didn't have to face it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've learned actually there was actually a pretty high divorce rate of people that have lost kids. So I think it probably either drives you apart or brings you together. So I think it strengthened us um, since we were already working on things.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was a
Wow.
blessing to have each other.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And that was the son you had together, right? You both your hers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yours.
So
Yes.
when we got together, I had a son and daughter. She had a daughter, and then we had one together. So that was our only child together. Yeah,
Yes.
that was
Wow.
the baby of the family. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was 24 when he died. Yeah,
Wow. And you
yeah,
wrote us
that's
that
life
awesome
changing.
article, which I don't know, I didn't look up the date, but you wrote us that awesome article about the moments, beautiful moments you had a few days before he died.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great day.
So tell me about being revisited by suicidal thoughts when that happened, being tempted, whatever
After
temptation
my
to
son
be,
died,
yes, about wanting to
yeah,
end it.
I never went back as dark as that the day previously. I never went back to gonna do it, plans to do it. Of course, you would love to be with your son,
Mm-hmm.
but I never thought I'm gonna kill myself again. I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of after that epiphany at the house. I never had that feeling again.
So you kind of dismissed it
Um,
faster than the prior time.
yeah, yeah. I would say my view on death has changed. Like I'm not in a hurry to die, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
scared to die. Um, Definitely not in a hurry.
Yeah. Wow. So that was, I mean, I'm thinking about the stress levels. I mean, look, all those losses, and then your sweet 24-year-old.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa. But you
yeah.
were almost like inoculated against suicide when
Right.
it came around the second time to tempt you in a big way. It's like, nah, not a good
Yeah,
choice. And you have those
right.
grandchildren. And do you want to tell us about what happened last night?
Yeah, so I have four granddaughters, and I've been wanting a grandson forever and couldn't get one. But my daughter had my first grandson last night, 11:01 p.m. So I got five grandkids and finally got my grandson. So
Yeah.
I would have
So,
missed that.
yes.
I would have missed
Yes.
my last granddaughter, because I only had three granddaughters when the first stuff took place. So, I've gained another granddaughter and a grandson since that.
So a lot of life has been happening in a good way.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Like hang in there, hang in there. Let's not give up because good stuff is around the corner. We don't know it, but it's there.
Right. Every day is
You
a
would,
new day.
yeah, you would have never gotten to know them or them to know you.
Right.
Uh, and of course, my thought is like, have you moved out of that house? Or are you still at that house where you found Chase?
No, we moved, and that was a tough decision too because my wife didn't want to move, where I just couldn't be there. So that was tough.
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, we I couldn't stay there. Yeah,
I understand completely.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
So you've dealt with some pretty rough losses that are no way back kind of thing. I mean, like You have to face
Right.
it, or either you do life on life's terms. That's a saying that they use in 12-step programs. Doing life on life's terms, which is about acceptance of what we cannot
Right.
change, and doing the best we can with what we can change, which was, like you said, improving your marriage, having all these new relationships, like with the grandkiddos, and
Right.
and helping other people, like by being on this webinar with us today. Because I'm sure it's no fun to be talking about that stuff, but you're helping people. I really believe you're helping people by sharing
I
that.
hope so. That's the point of things. I hope it helps somebody. That's the point of me writing the articles and in the process of writing the book, is I hope it helps
Yes,
somebody.
yes. And that's what makes life worth living, really making it better for others. And then it becomes automatically better for us because of that joy that comes from helping someone else have a better life, either in one moment or 1 year or whole life. So, wow. So anything else you want to, like, if somebody was on the brink right now and thinking about ending it, ending their life because it feels like the pain is unbearable, what would you tell them?
Man, it's tough because in those moments you're not thinking logical, um, and that's without getting into the whole scientific and medical side of things, like you're not thinking logical. You can't when you're in that moment. You can't think logical. That's two separate parts of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
But there is life after that, and you can't give up, and you just it's important to get help, and it's important to talk about these things. And
Right.
I'm telling you, like, look, losing my son was life changing. My life will never be the same after that. I could start crying on you right now. I could cry any moment of the day. I've been in restaurants and started crying because a song came on. But with that aside, my life is probably the best it's ever been. As far as finally being retired, my marriage is working good. Life is good. Of course, I would take my son back in a heartbeat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely life after depression.
Yes. After
Yeah,
hopelessness, after feeling overwhelmed, because that's the thing, of feeling overwhelmed by the pain. And maybe also there's anger, right? Like, why? We say, why is this
sure.
all this junk happening to me? And
But
eh,
I think it's so much harder with us coming from corrections or police or probably any first responding type job, is because it is looked at a weakness. It's such a weakness to
mhm.
need help and to show any signs of needing help. And
Yes, like you wouldn't be fit for the job, the fitness for duty thing. The other thing is also that you guys see so much horror that you may think my pain is not really that bad compared to this, what I just walked
yeah,
out of, what I just saw. And so people tend to minimize their suffering because they compare it to whatever they've seen at work. And but
right,
it's your pain is your pain. And you
yeah,
cannot compare it to other people because, like you said, it's
right,
the brain, it gets hit and it says I can't take it anymore. It's like, yeah, you can. That's why I love the whole thing of one step at a time, one day at a time. Break it down into
yeah,
little bites. Don't try to eat the whole elephant all at once. Little bites. um
right, for sure.
so that's what you have done, and as a result you're here today, and your wife knows you're doing this program and she gave her okay for it. It's like, I mean, that's courage on her
I
part.
mean,
So thank you her
right,
from
right,
us to her. Go ahead.
yeah, for sure. I just, it's life, and we deal with it, and you know, it sucks, but you know,
It sucks, and then you have
it's
moments like last night, 11:01
right,
p.m.
right, and it's how we move on. So, like I said, we're just
Yes.
helping somebody. That's all that matters. We're all human, and we're all experiencing that stuff, and we're all going through it. Um, so
Yes, and a lot of times we have no idea what the person next to us is going through because they're not sharing it. So we don't know. And they may be going
exactly,
through
right,
unreal pain. It's like, whoa, but we have no
and
idea.
that's right, and that's one of the things that really got me talking, especially at work, is because I know we're all going through it. But if you're newer staff, you don't know if that's normal, if that's okay, and you're taught that it's not okay. So yeah, that's why I wanted to start talking to staff more.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's, I think that this is going to have to be the new way we do things because, like you said, what we're doing at up to now is not working. What we've been doing, it's backfiring. We have to make changes and be human and be real.
Yeah, I don't have any idea how you would implement it, but I almost wish some kind of mental health was a requirement for that job. Even if it was just a checkup every 3 months to see where you're
Right,
at.
right,
Some
right. Actually, that's one. Actually, we have proposed that, and some places have done like the check-in kind of thing,
nice,
voluntary but strongly recommended, and confidential, and not to be used towards fitness for duty, to be separate,
right? Yeah,
completely separate, and because people are going to be affected by this job, and then like you said, they have life. I mean, they may have a child with a serious diagnosis. Who knows what may
absolutely,
happen. They may have a gambling issue. They were about to lose their
right,
house, and people get overwhelmed, and the culture says,
absolutely,
"Be tough." Yeah,
right.
just
Yeah,
suck it
don't
up,
show
and
weakness.
yeah. And so they think the only honorable way to continue is by killing themselves, uh,
Right.
because they cannot go on the other way of
Mhm.
saying, I'm broken, I'm
Right.
fragile, I broke down." So that's why I'm so grateful you can be here today and share, because we need that freedom of truth sets free. But like somebody told me, but first it will make you miserable. It stings, but it sets you free.
Right. For sure.
It's like taking a bitter
For,
pill that in your stomach it turns sweet, but in the mouth it's bitter.
yeah.
So that's why we're pushing for that kind of stuff through our correctional
Right.
ACEs, through our webinars. And thanks for making choosing to show up here after your retirement and
Right.
dive back into the corrections world. How does it feel to be back talking to corrections professionals today?
It's good because I want to help. That's why I started the writing, and um, I've been talked to about maybe doing some speaking events. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to do, but love to help people in this environment. You know.
And you have a story, you have a book actually with many chapters. So you have a lot to talk about. And you've
Mhm.
paid your dues, and you've paid your dues. Nobody can argue with the facts. Like,
Right.
you've been through,
Yeah.
you've stared at the abyss and turned around and walked
Yeah.
away and did constructive things instead of destructive. So you have a
Right. And
testimony.
right. That's why I'm excited to get this book finished. It's been a long process, and I'm just getting done with the first edits, and I'm going to send it out to some beta readers. But in that book, that's what I address is how I hired in right after I turned 21 years old. I was a
Wow.
happy kid, life of the party, and I ended up with a gun in my mouth, and so I wanted to share that whole process. And in that process, I share a lot of the things that I've experienced at work. So there's a lot of war stories.
Uh-huh.
That stuff that we see that excuse me, people in normal jobs don't see.
Right. And would you say
Yeah.
your marriage was you said it earlier, but I wanted to kind of pin it down
Yeah.
here again. Would you say your marriage was negatively affected because of the culture where you worked, that you have to come
Oh,
back home and
absolutely.
act
Absolutely.
invulnerable?
And so that was one of my moments too. My wife told me one day, she says, I don't like talking to you anymore because I don't know who I'm gonna get.
Mm,
Everything I say to you pisses you off. And she's right. And so that's when I talk about like the infidelity, you know, not making excuses, but when stuff like that happens, you got to look at your role also, because there's bigger issues. There's something that led up to that point.
it takes two, as they say, right? Takes two to tango.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so yeah, I wasn't talking about work. I was keeping everything inside, and I was being a miserable sob, and things were irritating me. And she's right. She couldn't do nothing right. Everything made me mad. So yeah, that job definitely affects your marriage. I think that's
Right.
why our divorce rate is so high.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the suicide. What in my experience, I've I've seen a lot of suicides that were, or attempts that were after a person in corrections was left by their spouse or other
Sure.
significant other. They come
Yeah.
home and the house is empty, and they
Right.
cannot take it, and they pick the gun and end it, and
Right.
or whatever. They do. And
Yeah,
so, yeah. So that's where we need to be proactive again about families, marriages, because they're going to be affected.
for sure.
It's impossible not to. I mean, even if you're a
It's impossible.
say it again?
I was just agreeing with you. It's impossible to not be affected.
Yes, right.
That's why, I mean, you hear, it's cliches. You hear like how we go to restaurants and we sit with our back to the wall and we got to see it. Like we are affected. We might not see it, but we are. My
Yes.
son, who's never stepped a day in the prison, will sit with his back to the wall in a restaurant. He's got to see everybody. Like it affects my kids too.
He
You know,
learned from you.
right. Once I took a step back, I could see how each one of my kids were affected by my behaviors. They all
Mm,
had different behaviors that I exhibited from working in a prison. So
wow. Wow.
we say leave work at work and home at home. It's impossible. Sounds
Exactly.
good. Do your 8 and hit the gate. It sounds good. It's not
Right.
reality.
No, because that brain that was inside there for 8 or 16 hours is the same brain that goes home, and you have to do a lot of work on it to not
Right.
spew
And with
darkness.
staffing issues now, you are there 16 hours most of the time. You're with that environment more than you're with your family. So yeah, you're going to be
Mhm.
infected, and yes, you're going to take it home, and it's going to have a toll.
Yes. That's
You're
why,
going to pay that bill.
right, sooner or later, that's why we have to have that proactive thing.
Exactly.
And then that's why we need decompression, the restoration time, whatever time away, which the people are not getting because of the mandatory overtime or voluntary overtime, because people have too much debt
Right.
accumulated, which traps them. Like, I can't leave this
Yeah.
job because I would never make that kind of money anywhere else, but the job is killing me.
Yeah. Well, that's
What a
it. When I made the
trap.
comment about having a pension, the pension's what kept me there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Jack McGurk made a comment too about the pension. We call it economic slavery. In
Oh,
Michigan, it takes very minimal education to get a job in a prison, but Michigan pays you very well. And so once you're there and you start building up debt, you're kind of locked in. And
yes.
now we don't have a pension anymore, but I did. And so, I was locked in. I was miserable and hated it, but I didn't want to lose my pension.
Right.
Of course, now that I'm retired, I'm glad I stayed because now they're paying me. But
You know, yes, but and you made it out alive. So we are thankful for that.
right.
Because I've seen people who get really close but don't quite make it. Or
But see,
yeah.
even that is stressful. And it may sound crazy, but in Michigan, our studies show, and maybe it's nationwide, but like our life expectancy is like 58 years old. We typically live 4 years after retirement. Like our life expectancy is really low in this profession. And so you're excited to retire, but then there's that anxiety. Like
Mm,
you see people die really soon after retirement. My dad died 4 years after retirement. I've known people to go on vacation and have a heart attack and die. So
right.
it's stressful to retire.
Wow. Wow. So are you making lifestyle changes to try to help yourself, do you think, at this point, or not really?
I think so. I mean, not like I should, and not like I say I wanna, but I got another job. Like I was saying earlier, it's 10 times more physically active. Um, so that's good. I'm not sitting behind a computer 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a change. So
Good.
right,
Very, very, very good. Keep moving.
and like I
Keep
said, just
moving.
my whole attitude is better. Like just I tell people I can't even explain it. Just the feeling of freedom being out of that place is so nice. I can't explain the freedom I feel. So
Ah, 30 years. 30 years. That's
yeah,
a long time. Yes.
it's a long time.
Yes. Wow. So thank you. So what would be your bottom line to somebody on the brink right now? What would you tell them, like, in one sentence?
Man, gosh, I don't even know if I can sum it up in one sentence because it's easy to say get help. It's easy to say talk to somebody, but it's hard to do. So I don't know. That's what we got to figure out is how to get people to reach out. Because if
And
we
then
don't know you're hurt, we can't help you.
have enough people to turn to, people who understand corrections, people who understand what's going on, like first responder pain,
Right.
and are
We
relevant.
already don't We already don't trust anybody. Not even just, I'm not talking just administration. Like we don't trust anybody. And so we don't want to talk to anybody. And it's very like, so, I say if you find a good therapist, like they're life changing, but you have, you think they don't work in a prison either. So they can't possibly understand what I'm talking about. I can tell war stories all day and things I've seen, but you can't relate to that. You never worked in a prison, but they can help you, you know,
Yes.
got to find the right one.
Yes. And sometimes you need to keep trying. When I used to do therapy with correction staff, some would say you're the third or even fourth person I tried, and I'm
Oh,
thinking you're
absolutely.
amazing. You're amazing that you didn't give up after the first. I was floored that they would
That's,
keep
that's what's
trying.
important. That's
Yeah.
what's important because it's easy to go to one and be like, no, this ain't for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Finding the right fit, the goodness of fit. It's not just for
Yeah.
shoes. It's also for therapists. You have to have a good fit
Right.
because it
For
makes
sure.
it can be a lifesaver or it can be a mess or a waste of your time and money. Um,
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also a peer who understands. It may be a spiritual leader of sorts. I noticed there was a lady here from Reboot Recovery, which is
I seen that.
yeah, it's a faith-based outreach
Is
to
it?
for trauma. I think it's for I mean veterans, but also
Gotcha.
maybe other first responders. But so somebody may only want to talk to somebody who understands their faith, and not somebody who
Sure.
doesn't. So it's like so that's why one has to look. That's why we need to have good records of like who to recommend people to, and we try to do that as much as we can. But the
Yeah.
point is to not give up. And even to me, reading an inspirational story like yours, where you put the gun down, whew, and you realize I don't really want to die. I just want the pain to go away. How else can I get
Right.
it to go away effectively? Not just
Yeah.
getting plastered with,
Right.
a gallon of whiskey. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, wow. So we dove into some deep stuff here. How are you feeling right now, talking about all
I'm
this?
good. I'm good. Yeah.
I'm seeing chat comments coming through, people being thankful to you for and the feeling helped by you. Justin,
Good.
um do you have some comments you want to bring up or to share or questions that we have for Brian?
I haven't seen the questions come up. A lot of support for Brian and his courage and his story. Um, a lot of people sharing that they've been through some of the same things and just the courage that Brian has coming forward and talking about it is amazing.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I just want to help people.
Well, you
And
are.
we're not alone. So,
Yes. And that's why social support is so critical. And that's what has been
right.
so crippled in corrections, where people feel like if I'm your boss, I cannot show compassion because you'll exploit me. Therefore, I have to be
Right.
hard on you because if I give you an inch, you'll take a mile. Therefore, it's like no
Yeah.
humaneness. Um,
No.
so how are your staff about you leaving? Because you had been a good supervisor to them. What the reaction did you
Yeah. I
get
mean,
from your
some, I
people?
mean, I'm sure some probably didn't care, but I got a lot of great feedback. People didn't want me to go. And that feels good. I still, talk to quite a few of them and, you know, it's good to be missed.
Good to be missed,
It's good
but
to
good
be
to be
missed.
out of there too at the same time.
Oh, I tell them you could pay me $100 an hour. I'd never go back. Never go back.
You paid your dues. They can meet you on the
Yeah,
outside if they want to talk.
absolutely.
You don't have to go back.
I would go back and talk about this stuff. I will never wear a uniform again.
Ah, okay. So you can go back and have your little mission.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a thought. That's hang on to that thought, hang on to that thought and
Yeah, it's
let's
a
see
thought.
how that can be made because they will listen to somebody who was one of their own more than they would listen to
Yeah.
anybody else.
Right.
So, Justin, Steph, any comments, any questions, anything you guys want to add because we don't have questions.
I
No, I
just want
just wanted. Oh, I'm sorry, Justin.
to, I was just going to tell Brian, I love the part about honesty and transparency and the difference between the
Yeah.
two. Um,
Yeah.
being, having gone through marital problems with the trust issues, and
Sure.
on the other side of it, being like, why don't you trust me? And realizing that, like, the transparency is, that example with the email. It was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
could wait for you to ask me if there's an email, but
Right.
why don't I come to you and
If you
say I
don't
got
ask,
an
I'm not
email?
telling you.
Exactly.
Right.
So I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Nuances. Yes.
Yeah.
Brian, I really loved your comment, and I put this in the chat about you can look back now and see what you would have missed.
Right.
And I think when you're in that moment, and I'm not a psychologist, but I do work for one, and I think we talk a lot about you know what's hard for people that are interacting with individuals who might be at that point of darkness and all the way down is that you're trying to reason those kinds of things, like look at what you would leave behind. But I think we don't, in that moment in our humanity, we're so focused on things when they are focused on ending the pain
Right.
and just stopping the pain. And that's
Yeah.
very hard for individuals who are interacting like in peer support situations. And if you're a close confidant with somebody, is that it, I think the human tendency is to just be about, but look at your family, look at who would be left behind, look at what you would miss.
Right.
And those are things that you can't necessarily see until later, you know.
Right.
And so I
Yeah, we
really
kind
like
of
the way
touched.
you did that.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we touched on. I mean, you can't logically, you can't think of both. You can't be
Mhm.
Mhm.
suicidal, truly going to kill yourself, and then think logically, hey, I'm going to miss my grandkids. I'm going to miss, whatever. And if you do think about it, it probably really don't matter to you at that moment.
Right. Or even
Yeah.
worse, you may think you're a burden to people, especially if you're depressed or
Absolutely.
you're throwing fits of anger or you're having issues with addiction. You may think, which is a scary, dangerous thought, oh, they'll be better off without me because I'm such a pain.
Right.
I'm such a
Yeah.
problem. I cause them heartache. They'll be better off. They'll get them. I'll stage my death so that they get my life insurance, and that makes it even more attractive. It's really deadly
Right.
a
It
deadly
is.
thought. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. It's just like identifying the lie, and it's really hard to identify the lie
It
that
is. And I
moment.
mean, obviously it's not an easy answer or we would fix it by now. So,
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't have the answer. I can only share my experiences, but
Right.
I don't know. I know we got to do more. Prisons have to
Yes.
do more.
Wow. Yes. Yes. And I know we have somebody else on our team that may want to say something. Brent Parker, do you want to say something, Brent? No? Okay.
Just happy to have a face with Brian's name. I've read so much of his work, and now I know what he looks like. So
Right.
thanks for sharing, Brian. You're a hero,
Thanks,
buddy.
man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. 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 And so I really appreciate you being willing to show up and share and dig up stuff and give us the updates. But I'm thrilled that you chose life.
Yeah. I'm glad I did.
Yes, I mean
Yeah.
it's a win-win for everybody. And
Yeah.
you've, like you said, you've grown as a human being. Your wife has been growing also alongside of you, and it's yeah, life is the school of hard knocks. Somebody said the colors
It
of the
is.
school are black and blue.
Right.
Black and blue are the colors of the school.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is the school of hard knocks, and either we agree to learn or we say I'm getting off this bus. I'm not going to learn anymore. And I'm glad you stayed on the bus, even though it was not a
Right.
happy ride for quite a while.
Right.
And then hung in there after Chase's death. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Br-
That's the worst pain ever.
Yes.
so a question just came in, and I know you're in the early stages Do you know how you're going to be putting your book out there, or the title or anything, so we can look for it at a later time?
Yeah. So, like I said before, when I would come home from work and my wife would ask me, how my day was, and I always said, just another day. So that's what I'm titling the book. It's going to be called Just Another Day. I hope to have it out later this year. I wanted to have the first edit done by the end of February, and of course I didn't. So I just about got that done. And like I said, I want to send it out to some beta readers, and then do some more editing and fixing. So I hope to have it out later this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Everything
keep
takes
everybody
longer
posted.
than we plan. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Keep us
does, and
posted.
I'm a great procrastinator. So yeah.
I think I can speak for Desert Waters that when your book comes out, we will make sure that individuals know how to find it.
I'd
Since
appreciate that.
you've been such a great contributor to the Oasis for us.
Yeah. For almost 6 years
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
all about creating a sense of connection and family. I don't know how else to put it. That's why I felt like you're like a brother. My brother is like, whoa, I've known you without really knowing you, but I've known you. And that is what keeps us alive a lot of times, that
Yeah.
hanging together.
We
And
have
but
we
see,
have another.
and that's what. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say we have another question if you want to add it to your comment. Um, what do you think is the best way to create an effective support resource in a correctional environment?
Support
and
resource.
and see, that's tough. I think that's the problem. I think that's the question that we can't answer or haven't yet, anyways. And that's what I was about to say. The frustrating thing is, yeah, we call each other brother, but then we won't talk to each other about the important stuff.
Right.
Putting together a team, like I just don't have the answers. I don't know. We got to get people to open up. If they don't talk, we don't know there's a problem. I don't know how to solve it.
I think that's where
I
we
don't know.
need leaders. We need the leaders to lead and be the first to be vulnerable. Like I was shown a newsletter from a facility where the warden shared his story about his wife said, either we get help or I'm out of here. And he shared his story that they went to family therapy and he saved his marriage. That is what we need. People leading and being real and taking some hits, maybe some people
Right.
criticizing them, like you were criticized when you started writing about being human. And
Oh, sure.
that we need to start with leaders who set the pace and are honest and open and transparent and vulnerable, and also share how they've grown, what
Yeah.
has been hard, what has been easy, what has worked, what hasn't worked. It trickles down. It gives people
Right.
permission to do the same.
Caitlin, Caitlin Rudolph just made a comment, but her last line says, "It's okay to pick another job." That's one thing I was envious to this new generation. Their work ethic drives me insane, but I was envious of the freedom. Like we would have people go to college, go through the academy, come to the prison and quit that day because they don't want nothing to do with it. I wish I felt that freedom that I could have just
Mm.
quit my job and walked away. Um, this generation we have here, anyways, in Michigan, they will definitely go find another job. They will not hesitate to quit.
And actually, do they do they still have a pension or do they not have a pension anymore?
Oh no, they stopped the pension in Michigan in 1997. So
Okay,
if you hired in after April of 97, you do not have a pension.
so that's one less thing that holds them there.
Well, it's even that. So you also don't get health care when you retire. You get
Ooh.
nothing when you retire except what you put into your 401 and 457. So when I retired, I got full health care benefits, dental, vision. I got a pension. They're paying me. I could sit home and do nothing if I wanted. Um, so yeah, they've totally took this career and made it a job,
Right, so
a
people can
stepping
come and
stone.
go. Yeah.
And they do. Yeah.
So that contributes to the turnover, obviously.
Yeah, we hired one young lady. She used it as just a summer job from college because she couldn't find no other job. And we'll hire anybody right now because we're so short. So she went through the academy in the summer. She got paid to go through the academy, and that was her summer job.
Wow.
She got paid well, and yeah,
And then she left.
people just don't. Yeah, yeah, people don't take it serious anymore. But there's no
Right.
reason to, because you don't have a pension, you don't have health care, you don't have the benefits that I got. You know,
You don't treat it as a
I'm
profession,
very
like you
fortunate.
said. Yeah, you treat it
Absolutely
as
not.
a
Yeah,
job.
right. Big
Wow.
difference.
Huge
Right.
around retention
Brian,
incentives.
you,
Go ahead.
you have a list of people who are willing to volunteer to be your beta readers. If you would like for us to collect those out of the chat, you've got at least 5 or
I mean,
6.
if if you can get it to me, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
invite everybody who volunteered to send us your email address or drop your email address in there so we can
Yeah.
send them on to Brian.
And if you want to send it, privately send it to admin@desertwaters.com. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, I take some couple more beta readers. I ask that you be constructive. You can tell me it's the worst book you've ever read, but tell me why. you know, be constructive with your criticism.
Wow. Well, I'm sure people will be very helpful, and probably people are hungry for that kind of material, Brian. So then,
I think they can relate to it, you know. Yeah. I think that's what they need. Yeah. I hope it helps.
yes. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments? Oh, okay. We have a couple of, and you're going international. We have someone from Canada too. All righty. Anybody else? Any comments? Anybody from our team?
I can go ahead and share our next webinar's information if you would like me to.
Sure.
Okay. So our next webinar is scheduled for April 30th. Don't miss it. We'll send you an email to register if you're on our email list. And it is called The Ring, Trauma-Informed Boxing and Peer Connection. So we have a department who has started a boxing program as part of their staff wellness efforts within their agency, and they are going to be sharing the outcomes and the wins and the really cool stuff. I mean, it's boxing as staff wellness. It's going to be a super cool webinar. You're going to not want to miss this. So make sure that you register. Justin has dropped the registration link into the chat. And we look forward to seeing you guys on April 30th at our next webinar. It will also be at 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you don't miss that.
Well, Brian, can't thank you enough, really. Can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Wow. Let's hope that as months go on, may have you, if you're interested and available, come back
Sure.
and talk more about what's in your book.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
That'd be awesome. Well, thank you. And again, also
Thank you.
to your wife for agreeing to this.
Right.
Because it takes courage on her part too.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. And thank you all for
Thank you, guys.
attending and any feedback, all your feedback. Tons of thanks to you, Brian, from our
Right. Yeah, appreciate
team.
it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Wow. Yep. Let's keep up our efforts, and thank you. Anybody with ideas, drop us like what you would like to see in a webinar. Send us your thoughts. We're always looking for interesting topics.